Good morning, guys. How many were here last month for this session, the first session? I was here. Wow, okay. Not too many people were here. Less than 10%. Anyway, my name is Josiah Mugambi. I'm from the iHub. The iHub exists to catalyze the Kenyan tech ecosystem community. One of our key focuses is in community development and also innovation and entrepreneurship. We are privileged to have Dr. Ndemo serving on our board, and this session just happened almost like a joke, quote unquote. But we're happy how it's moving, and the energy and the drive that we are feeling, that it's going to change how entrepreneurship, how potentially the growth of more businesses are going to happen in this country in various industries. The iHub is a tech, it's all about tech innovation community. But this forum is not just for people in technology, it's for anyone who is interested in entrepreneurship. So just keep that in mind, because technology is just a platform. Think of it as just a platform. So without too much ado, I will be welcoming Dr. Ndemo. We'd like to thank our sponsors for this session. The tea you've had, the mandazis and all that. Thanks to Chase Bank. Just give them a hand. I don't know if there's any representative here. Okay, Dr.
So good morning. So next time, because you have come early, we would say the function begins at 7, so that Kenyans can come at 11, at 10. I know there's a number who are still coming in, but because some of you came early and want to finish by 12, we would begin. And this is part of the discipline that we need if we got to succeed in this country or in Africa per se. In the past 1 week, I attended two conferences. One is Pivot East at Panari, and the other one was the Guardian one in South Africa. And practically in all these conferences, Africa has begun to look inside Africa to see how we can solve many of the problems. And in the areas that they are looking at is what everybody's talking about, sustainability models. We want to move from non-governmental work helping us in Africa to where we can begin to deal with our own issues, our own problems. And those who attended Pivot East, I don't know how many of you were there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This was supposed to be a compulsory attendance if you want to see what's going to happen in the next 5 years. A lot is going to happen in Africa. Most of the applications that were showcased were looking at the bottom of the pyramid. They were looking at how to deal with poverty, mostly centered around productivity, mostly centered around how can we enable our poor to succeed. But let me switch a little bit and take you to what is happening around us. Let me begin by the number of malls that are coming up. There's a mall coming up on Limuru Road called Two Rivers. Another mall in Keren called The Hub. If you go along Thika Road, we have, what do you call it? No, there's a new one. Garden City, there is TRM, there is another one ahead. There are like 6 or 7 malls that are coming up along the Thika Highway. And there is one mall that just came up, a place on Limuru Road. What do you call at the end of Limuru Road? The shopping. Okay? The new one, just Ruaka. Ruaka. So I went to visit there. The whole thing was full. And I was asking myself, there is Village Market, there is another one on Kiambu Road, but drive around and see that all these malls are full. When we were young, we used to play around Adams Arcade. It was the only decent mall that was around. But today, you begin from Uchumi, Nakumat, you go to Adams, it's full. They're even building other funny things from behind, to Junction, to now the Hub. Now, I'm saying this so that I can prove to you that there is something happening that you must look at before you begin to decide what you are going to do in order to succeed. These malls that I've told you, they are actually fully rented before they are built. And most of those renting are actually foreign companies like Carrefour, which is a global chain supermarket. They are fully booked up. Then the government went to look for money in Europe, and within 2 weeks, it was subscribed up to $8 billion US. So someone else is looking at here and seeing opportunity, but we are not looking at the opportunity ourselves, and we are not discussing how to exploit that opportunity. So from last month when we started this program, those of you who were here, several opportunities were highlighted, and a few of you came to ask, how can we move these ideas forward? And we are still working around how to help. But we said we would continuously have these discussions. And so when I was preparing my speech last night, I said, well, I don't have something to tell you today. So I went on to online just to look at what is happening in the world. And I landed on The Economist. And I said, voila, I have a speech for tomorrow. So don't worry, I have a speech for you. This is what the headline would be. It hasn't come out, it's coming up Monday. That's when you get the hard copy. It's called Start Me Up, Creating Britain's Entrepreneurial Ecosystem. I did not tell them this, but the following slides is exactly what we sought to deal with in this country. That we create a forum where we would share ideas, help one another, create an ecosystem that would help the younger people in this country to begin to grow. Just see, this month we examine Britain as an entrepreneurial ecosystem. We ask for $10,000 idea to bridge the skill gap between higher education and employment. And we also look at creating innovative solutions for the complex world. So everybody in the world is thinking around this. And those of you who have been to the US or have read about what's happening in the US, after so many years, a capitalist nation like United States of America, they have reached a point where they have known that people, generally, from the last month's arguments here, that almost 80% of entrepreneurs actually copy from what they see. They duplicate what they know. And in the US, what they are creating are these tech shops where they would show you how to do it, and then they will let you go to do it. This is where everybody has the study of entrepreneurship, that most people cannot actually come up with certain ideas. And that's why we have been failing constantly. Government gives money, WESO fund, Women's Fund, the Youth Fund, and we don't see anything happening. And when I was watching World Cup, I found the answer. How many of you have seen the latest Coca-Cola advert? How many? You don't watch? You don't watch football? Yeah? There are those who are clueless, isn't it? Yeah? those who are clueless. The diehards and the whatnot. That's a classic example of entrepreneurship. So when the government gives money to the clueless, he would say, "We have scored!" And no, it's halftime. It's halftime. This is halftime. We have not finished yet. This is what exactly that is happening. And entrepreneurship in Africa is so strange. Yes. This one. This is colored. Okay. This one gives me confidence to speak. This other one doesn't. Okay. So when you look at that advert, you learn the entire entrepreneurship in the world. That when we throw money out, there are some who would fully understand what to do with the resource. Some would have no clue what to do with the resource. Some are in between. And that's the reason why we are here, that we can begin to talk. You must share the idea with others so that you can shape the idea. It becomes a business idea. Let's see a little bit. New tech series. Whether Cambridge is Silicon Fen, not Silicon Savannah. Yeah? London's tech. All this, I don't have to read. You can read for yourself. This is the question they're asking. The answer is no. The opportunities are enormous, enormous. Forget about Britain. I'm just showing you to show you why we must begin to talk ourselves. And I've practically identified where the opportunities lie. If we don't do anything with this fast-growing middle income in Africa, we would import everything. We are already importing everything. We're importing, including tomatoes. We are importing into this, including potatoes. This is where the opportunities lie. And we are looking at this as a best practice somewhere and begin to address those issues here. Then they have, I don't know where this went down here. They're giving 10,000. I don't have $10,000 to give for people to come up with ideas. And the consensus among employers that graduates lack critical thinking and the ability to communicate effectively. How would you bridge the skill gap between higher education and employment? Semi-finalists receive coaching from a VC, and the presentation expert winner would get $10,000. Government actually needs to give like 100,000 shillings if you come up with an idea how we can deal with unemployment before it becomes a serious crisis. Already it's a crisis, but before it becomes a very serious crisis. This is what they're doing in Britain. Innovative solutions for a complex world. I would ask you if you can take some time, I don't know whether I put the web, if you can watch that site. They call it Visionaries Unbound. To turn the problems into a conversation. This is what we were doing at the Pivot East. we turned the most serious problems in the country into a conversation. The reason why you turn into a conversation, you actually get so many ideas around what you are talking about, and then into an opportunity. We have the opportunities, we have the problems, we don't have the forum to bring those problems into a conversation and then converting them into an opportunity. And this is where success begins. This information-rich content event series, spearheaded by economists, editors, visionaries across the globe, I think this is a must-read for everybody. Because most people ask, where do ideas come from? You know, government has given us money. We can go buy mitumba and resell the mitumba. But we still have so many problems. Where do ideas come from? And this is why we are here, that we continuously begin to address problems by having conversations around those problems and creating opportunities, because we have too many brains in this room and many other brains, and then we succeed out of those problems. But we cannot easily, this I would want you to look at because it's very important in the sense that even as we talk about development, we must look at the environment. That's what you talk about, the ecosystem. Just put the word visionaries and bound. This is from the Rockefeller Foundation, and they have been promoting what is going to happen in the coming days as we build new cities. Very important. When they were in Nairobi here, we had met them, we contributed to this, and we need, as we think about exploiting the resources, we must begin to think about the environment. Then, even with what you see in Britain, even as we create conversations, even as we develop the opportunities, we need business development services in this country. And it could be the government creating, it could be non-government organizations, it could be private sector creating. But because the discourse has been so much, what has the government done? We want to change that discourse to what have we done for our people. When you went to university, you're supposed to come with that knowledge and share it with your people. It is not the government that will do that. We could do it ourselves. We could do it, and that is exactly what we are doing. If you read here what the role of business development services is, to promote growth, expansion, innovation, increased productivity, and improved management for small businesses. So if you look at the apps I was talking about in the Pivot East, they were addressing this. Government will never sit anywhere to talk about innovation. Innovation is done by people like us. You have time to speak, you have time to deal with an issue, you have time to look at the problem. Those who looked at the banking sector and saw there were problems of sending money. Most of us grew at the time where it took 4 days for the fastest means of sending money in this country. To send money from here to Nyeri will take 4 days. If you use the bank, it used to take 21 days, what they called an up-country check. Imagine the efficiencies we have created within a very short period by creating an app that will deal with that issue. We could be creating as many ads. And as I said in South Africa, those of you who looked at Twitter, is that God has been great to Africa, that we have too many problems because you cannot innovate if there is no problem. And this is why we need to raise up and say, yes, we don't have the lights, we can't watch TV, but we can innovate, you know, because those who have too much light watch too much TV because it's available. Those who don't have the light don't have the TV, so we need to stop creating children and they start thinking. Yeah. The mission, so accomplished through activities of counseling, technical assistance, training, seminars, and research services. This is very important, by the way. Oops. Yeah. Activities of counseling. You are not crazy when you start a business so that we come to counsel you. But this, we need to nurture. We need to hold your hands and move forward. We need to leave what we've been having, what you call it, jealousy in Africa. If you see someone succeeding, you want to destroy it, to a point where we push you forward to succeed. This is what we call business development services, where we develop you technical assistance. I said in America, they would have a lab like this one. If it is tomatoes you are growing, they would bring the processing machine that would process, add value to the tomatoes. You work on that machine. You produce the tomato paste. And then they let you go. As you go, they send people to you to help you with the marketing, to help you with how you handle your employees. These are simple, but they are the most complex things. I know people who have hired the best workers, and then they start abusing them. You are stupid. You are silly. And then they walk away. They bring another more stupid person than the one who has already learned how to do things. These are things you would be helped with, training, seminars, whatever and whatever. And so the question is, what have we done, or what are we doing towards this? I've been asking the university to create a center for entrepreneurship which would go out there to help Kenyans who have taken the risk to invest in this. But you have to free up your mind as a Kenyan that capital investment is not doing the business. This is where we fail. This is where we completely fail. Even government fails in this because they think building an hospital, we must equip the hospital. They could go to an equipment manufacturer and say, we have given you space. You run your things within the hospital and the pricing will be around this. They would actually do it. Or you can find a third party to do that. When a third party does it, they would run as many people going through. The machine won't break down when you want to take a break because they're running a business. And because of that, the volume is higher and the cost comes down. A very simple thing. I used to talk to filmmakers in this country. You don't need to buy expensive cameras. You don't need to buy expensive editing suites so that you become the best film producer in this country. But everybody did that. You find 10 people with very expensive equipment and the production cost was so high. So, Lemuya, what do you call it? The one from South America. Lemuya or what is that? La Vida, those translations from Spanish, they are cheaper in this country because everybody is investing in capital expenditure and forgetting that to compete, you actually need to get someone invest in it so that you share. Once you share, it means that you use the resources optimally, the cost comes down, and then you can compete. Very simple, but we don't do that. And so what Dr. Gashigi was talking last week, that the university is setting up a lab where you can go produce your furniture. Produce your furniture at a specific time. They say Monday from this, you come and produce your things here. Another one, Tuesday from this, you produce. But the general character of a Kenyan is to come and say, why can't we block everybody so that I do it myself? That selfishness kills everybody. including themselves, because they probably don't have the ideas. He has to produce from the same machinery. We must begin to learn to share those machines, do production, improve on productivity, and everybody succeeds. Because any one person you remove from the street to do that production, you have removed one criminal who would have killed you on the road. So if you think that way, we can begin to support one another and be able to succeed together. The financial services, actually think of business development services, everything else in an enterprise except finance, because finance is actually sorted out. Government is throwing money at you through ways of fund. We have micro and small enterprises. We have several NGOs with funding. We have banks like JS Bank, which are looking for you. We have other banks which are looking for people with good ideas which they can fund. Now, the problem has been, how can we grow the idea itself into a serious business? And this is where we are saying, by the time we have the next lecture, we would have created an institutional framework where the university can provide support, because university has got so much resource. They have graduate students, they have PhD students, they have professors, whom we actually leave to go out there and do something theoretical, which has nothing with us on the ground here. Nothing with the ground. Why would you study some theory when you could simply do a study around how employability our youth can be, and do it practically? We have done it. In one of my class, we brought in the youth who are doing enterprises, matched them with students, and the students prepared the business plan. And these people were shocked that they actually needed a business plan, because ordinarily Africans, when they start a business, they blanch. And then when it fails, they say, my neighbor looked at me with a different eye. Yeah? So we actually need to record these things, and slowly we begin to succeed. So, as I said, business planning, management services, marketing, training, technical services, policy support, research and development. Of course, financing, we would have to talk to the banks. We would have to talk to those agencies that are giving the resources. If you look at, those of you who read the newspaper yesterday, the WESO fund, the regulations have become too tight, because they have noted that if they give the money will never be recovered. They're putting it tight, maybe asking that you need to have a business plan. The business plan is important. Is important. We have several MBAs in this country, several students doing MBA. They should be doing that as a project, because in academia, when I publish a paper, I actually spend my money to go to UK and present it, and they give it for free. And that is what those who are learning to be academics should be doing for their country. And hopefully the university would accept with this, and hopefully other universities would pursue the same, so that we begin to help as a university. So we will talk about the institutional framework next time, but if you have an idea in between, we can still help. We are helping some groups with that. If you want to understand monetization of some of the applications that have come up, we would help. But I want to allow a few people to speak. Again, from the same writing, you remember we started here because we were challenged online that, what are you doing? You are just writing, what are you doing? Then we said, okay, we would have a forum where we can address issues. You have seen even the UK is trying to address issues by having a forum like this. So I met Nathan Cook from the same. He just wrote to me, who has a business in Mukuru. And this is another area where we are going to talk, social enterprise. I would allow him 10 minutes. Then we have Dr. Dr. Gathuru. Also is going to introduce where some of you tech would be interested. And then I would finish with Alice and the bank itself. So Nathan can speak to us. But in the meantime, you can clap for me, then I use it.